Morning Kickaround on location debrief. Who's going to buy this $400 FIFA City kit? And USL One Side Sporting Cascades seems to have some life. That and much more on Monday's edition of Morning Kickaround. Hello and welcome to the show. You found your way to Morning Kickaround, the show that dots the map of the ever-changing American soccer landscape. How you doing? How you feeling? My name's Robert Kerr, local soccer guy, and old chuckles to my side, radio soccer guy Jason Davis. How you doing?
I think we're gonna have to get used to being back in studio after our trip to Rhode Island. We've got some habits that we're getting back into. I mean, bang on the table. All right, we're back. I'm excited. We're going to tell everybody about our trip to Rhode Island. Hopefully people watched what they could watch. We'll explain some of the travails we had there in Pawtucket, but we do have some good stuff to share and a big show today. I see all of the Ultras are showing up. Shout out to all of you. Thank you very much for being here and supporting us. Rob is wearing his Morning Kickaround Ultras jersey that he picked up from me in Pawtucket. I know we've got a bunch of pictures. We may share those at a later date of people rocking their MK Ultra kits. Thank you very much for buying those. We're ready to do the next round of printing. So we've got a couple of people who haven't gotten their kits yet because we did the initial batch and they had missed the deadline. But I know I've got to get a replacement out to my guy, Tom, in St. Louis. And I got a couple of people that need their kits. So if you haven't bought one yet, consider doing it so that you can help your other Ultras so we can put together a good enough batch to send to our guy so he can print us new kits, Rob.
Yeah, can't wait for everybody to get their hands on one. And it feels good. I love it. I rocked it quite a bit on location there in Pawtucket, Rhode Island. Had to throw it on again. And I've loved seeing friends and Ultras display theirs as well. We'll have to put like a collage or something together.
Yeah, I saw a bunch of people wearing, bespoke kits. Like Defiance 1636 has their own kits that a lot of them were wearing to the game on Saturday for Rhode Island and Tampa when we were doing our broadcast. And I'm not going to identify anybody. It's this is not trying me to come. And then I'm sure there are certain levels in terms of what you purchase. But I just want to say from our guy, Mark Jenkinson and Bastion, it is like it's the like I'm wearing right now this old OKC Energy shirt. And this is a badge that is embroidered, right? That badge, our badge being embroidered on our jersey, is such a lift from a printed badge, Rob. It makes such a difference in how you feel about how good the kit is.
Yeah, and you know who else has an embroidered kit is Rhode Island FC, and they were generous enough to give us some. And I think when we debrief our live show and our tour out there, I'll show it off. I'm going to wait for the segment. Make them wait for it. Make them wait for it.
I almost did a reveal. My apologies, Rob.
We'll show those off later on when we do our Rhode Island on location debrief. But man, life comes at you fast. We're gonna be trying to do all the things. You're going on vacation. I gotta get ready for Oakland County FC's start to the season. But we'll at least take a moment here on today's show and live in the experience that was this weekend for a little while today. We're also going to talk about Sporting Cascades, a USL League One side that was supposed to come on this year. They've been going on, and there's been some stuff in the background going on there, and it looks like they may have pushed through to get a start in 2027. We're also going to see who is going to buy these FIFA host city kits. Not only are they eclectic, but they have a pretty high price point, which may not come to a surprise as anyone who's been paying attention to the news of the upcoming World Cup.
Yeah, I think there's some interesting things happening around extraction, as you described it before the show, Rob. We're going to talk about that. One more call out there for anybody who's not an Ultra. It's a couple bucks a month. You get access to the Discord and the community and the incredible stuff that's happening over there. Lots of really great conversation, lots of sharing, right? Lots of trading of not just information, but of things I think is happening in that Discord server. If you are an Ultra and maybe don't understand Discord, we'll try to walk you through it at some point in the very near future. We'll maybe do a video or something to help some people get in there because that's a big perk. There are other things that you get from being an Ultra, obviously on-screen comments. And, as I said, I was saying good morning to everybody. Mr. Bob has already hooked us up with another gift membership. Shout out to Bob. Love his comments every single day. Bob is basically the president of the in the MK Ultras at this point. I think that's the case.
I
We
think
got
that's
Leandering.
more than fair to say.
Dwayne is here. Shout out to Dwayne, Matthew, Jeff, Angus. I remember I sent him a jersey. Hopefully Angus got his jersey. There's Mr. Bob again. Shipper Steve over there in the UK. A homeless shoe. Arriba las Divas. Let's see. Cool Will, Andrew. Thank you very Tulsa Mario, Bill, Chris. You guys are killing it. Thank you. Soccer Made in Detroit. Shout out to you as well. Thank you to everybody who supports this show.
Yeah, as we were getting our tour around the brand new stadium, which we'll talk about, couldn't help but think about the future of DCFC and what the future lies there. But we'll talk about that more in a minute. But let's get into our show. Let's roll on to our topics here on Monday's edition of Morning Kickaround. We're leading today's show off with some World Cup news. So World Cup coverage is brought to you by Oakland County Football Club, celebrating 10 years of bleeding purple and rocking some summer soccer in Southeast Michigan here in 2026, battling on 3 fronts this summer: USL 2, Midwest Premier League, and the TST. USL 2 home opener for Oakland County FC is this Saturday, May 16th, looking to break the attendance record against crosstown rivals Union Macomb. All right, one of the things that came from the Discord server over the weekend, FIFA announcing and releasing 4 out of the 16 FIFA host city jerseys, and they're quite a lot to look at, but the price tag might blow your eyebrows back.
Yeah, how much is it? How much? I'm looking at one of these. Okay, I'm gonna go pick up a New York, New Jersey FIFA World Cup City kit. How much is that gonna cost me?
That's gonna cost you almost 4 big ones, $375 the list of prices.
$375. What are we doing here for a kit that's not a look? We asked you what was our price point on the MK Ultra jersey? What was our price point? Right? $45. And I guarantee you our quality is just as good as this quality. Okay. Like, I don't think that this is a better kit than what now. Maybe you get a jock tag on it and that's like a thing. And look, it's got a We Are 20. But what are we talking about here? You're wearing okay, this is how they're trying to sell it. So there you can see the front and sort of the side of the New York, New Jersey kit, which is the torch of the Statue of Liberty with the ball inside of it. So we're burning the ball, Rob. That's what we're doing. We're burning the ball.
They're burning something.
This is a little bit of a closer look if you're worried about it says football unites the world right there. Sure, that's your badge. All right, now, if you were going for style, Rob, if you were looking, how will I combine this jersey for my look? Like, how am I going to make this jersey look fashionable? You can be like these lovely models right here. All of them doing blue steel.
Yeah, it's a good look. It's a good look.
Is it? I mean, look.
No, I was talking about the model faces, not the kits.
Oh, okay. If I was 25 years old and even close to as good looking as any of these people, I might try to pull something like this off. Now, I was also 25 years old in a very different era of fashion, so I don't know if it would have worked. But I'm saying, if I was 25 years old now and I kind of looked like any of these people, I might try to pull this off. I'm not always I don't like the short sleeve over the hoodie, but that works for him. It works. I don't know about the plaid and the belt.
But I was just going to say, after spending the weekend with you, I'm not sure if I can picture you wearing plaid pants like that, but it would be an interesting day if you were. Hooded sweatshirt with a jersey tucked in with plaid pants is pretty adventurous.
Armando is saying, if I was 25 and FIFA paid me $400 to take this jersey, I still wouldn't wear it. Okay. All right. That's New York, New Jersey. What else we got? Oh, here's Kansas City. Now, New York, New Jersey, we got the torch for the Statue of Liberty with the ball. Kansas City's a lot more pastoral, Rob. It's a lot more like, look, we got sunflowers there with, I guess, some geometric shapes to evoke the ball or something. Someone's carrying a flag.
That flag
Um,
reminds me of like what a youth team logo might look like, or some sort of a summer camp logo might look like. That
Now,
piece right
while we have 3 models showing off the New York, New Jersey kid and
That's
the
how I
front
would wear
section,
mine. That's how I'd wear mine. That's the
here we
ensemble I would do.
have, a lovely young lady wearing the Kansas City kit and showing us just the back, not the front, the back. And, okay, I mean, she looks fashionable, but I guess they didn't want their model. This is one they had 3 for Jersey, and they only Kansas City only gets 1, Rob? That's disrespectful, don't you think? The entire Midwest? Shouldn't you be like offended on behalf of the entire Midwest because of this terrible shot?
Yeah, yeah. Oh, yeah. The 800 miles away really speaks to me
It's the
about
Midwest. You're all Midwest. The Midwest is too big. We established this. The Midwest is
the
too big.
Midwest is big, sure. Well, I saw how in Rhode Island how everyone regional is. They're talking smack about someone like half an hour down the road, and you're gonna say lump me in with someone 8 hours away. But yeah, definitely not an even representation. But we got another look at the kits here. But I do swear that the girl holding the corner flag looks like a summer camp flyer.
It does. And there's that I can't remember the name. There's a statue. It's like the something Spirit of the Plains or something. You can see that behind her. She's holding the flag, and right next to the flag is kind of a silhouette shape. I believe that's a statue that's like a representation of Native American presence in the region. It does look like you have some of the architectural features of Kansas City. You've got jazz there with the trumpet. So that's that's something. I don't know what that hand is holding up down there, but I think it's not that they did Kansas City dirty. It's just a very different look than New York. Doesn't go quite as hard. And again, our model is only showing the back. All right, what else we got? So remember that not every city kit or host city kit is out yet, right? Rob, right? How many do we have out?
So there's only 4 of 16 presented right now. But I do want to bring this up. An important fact of this is there's only selling 999 of these worldwide.
Oh, they're limited edition. Oh, I didn't know. $400 or $375 for a limited edition. So it's kind of the scarcity thing. They're like, oh, if you
Yep.
want to be one of the cool people that has this, here's Seattle's. This looks cool. I have no problem with the way this looks. Again,
And
I don't know
I
if
think the poster, that's like the city host poster has this sort of a design on it. So I think it's inspired by that.
Yeah. Okay. Let's see what else we got. Okay, here we go. Now, when I first saw this, I was like, "Oh, is this the new cast of Real World Seattle? Is that
Yeah,
what we're
right.
doing here?" Like that's
She's sleepy.
And of course there's got to be a flannel. Of course he's got in Seattle. You got to be covering up the entire jersey with the flannel. I love how they're like staring off, just like, "Oh, there's something over there. There's something over there, Rob." All right, anyway.
The girls are looking at camera and the boys are looking off into the distance there. They're
Here's
disconnected.
Here's Baston. All right, we got Boston. We got a lobster tail coming out of the water, like a
That's a
monster
lot of
lobster. The
monster
lobster's
lobster.
underneath the water and above the water. We got a sea monster. Okay, sure. There's the bridge there, the city of Boston, a ball. What else? We got a tugboat. You got a tugboat, Rob.
There's a yacker.
You got a tugboat. Here's our models for Boston. Got a chain, got a vest. All right. Sure.
I mean, I know lobster is part of the culture, whatever, but I think the lobster is a little too heavily featured there. Like that lobster tail sticking out there, that's like a third of the jersey.
Too much lobster? Can you ever have too much lobster, Rob? Is that a thing, really? Too much lobster?
For certain people, I'm sure. I mean, for Jersey real estate there, it does occupy a great deal. Was that all 4 of them we saw there?
That was all the ones we got. Yeah, New York, Kansas City, Boston, and Seattle. So
if they're going to go that hard with the obvious themes with like putting the lobster and whatnot, what were they going to do for places like Mexico City?
yeah, well, I think we kind of have a vibe usually of what they go with Mexico City and the Aztec thing and all that. We'll see. We'll see. I mean, I will say, they're not all ugly. It's not that I think they're ugly. It's the charging $375 for them. I don't know. It's all part and parcel of the extraction of capital from this World Cup, the United States, North America in particular, from FIFA. Stuff like this gets made all the time. This is pretty standard marketing stuff. It's just, again, it's the price point that makes your eyes go wide. And then it's the thing about you're already trying to charge us thousands for tickets. And now you want people to pay this much for something that I guess it will have some sort of, I guess, it'll start a conversation down the road, right? Again, like I'm a medium-sized kit collector. Like in terms of kit collections, I'm in the medium zone. I know there are people with hundreds. That's not me, Rob. I have 40 or 50. As somebody in the medium zone, I have some interesting kind of quirky, esoteric, not official club kits, but they all have a meaning to me personally that like comes from something in the world of soccer that I can connect with. I don't know how you connect with this in a way that makes you want to go and buy a jersey like that. Somebody will buy them though. Somebody will.
You think I have a feeling that you're going to see these in the VIP boxes of stadiums that someone's already spent a gargantuan amount of money, and then this is like the tack on, and almost maybe some of them might be given away more than actually bought for themselves as kind of an add-on keepsake package or like a bonus. Maybe that's sitting for some folks in the VIP boxes or something like that when they show up to the game in Seattle. Those kids are waiting for them in for whatever upgraded package that they might have purchased or won even. But yeah, I'd say out of those, I'm 1 for 4 on liking them out of those that are released. But there's 12 to go, and we'll see how we're waiting on the edge of our seats, I know, to see the remainder of the FIFA limited edition host city jerseys. All right, well, let's move along. Do you want to unpack Rhode Island, or do we want to talk about the USL League One?
No. We're gonna let's come back with an update on USL League One so that we can spend some time in the back half of the show telling people about Rhode Island.
All right, stay with us. We're going to talk about up in the Oregon area up next here on Morning Kickaround. Welcome back here, Morning Kickaround. USL League One hopeful Sporting Cascades was put on hold where there was some stuff going on in the background with ownership, but just recently Sporting Cascades added ownership to get the team online in Eugene, Oregon.
Yeah, this is interesting to us for a couple of reasons. Number one, generally speaking, we are sitting here trying to chronicle the growth of American soccer. We had a lot of conversations in Pawtucket about what we're trying to do here on Morning Kickaround. And one of the things that has come out of us just continuing, like the tide or the current rather has taken us in a direction. And one of those directions is just kind of paying attention to stuff like this. Like a club wants to get off the ground and go professional. They need money to do that. They need a stadium plan to do that. How are they doing that? What's going on there? Are they where's the money coming from? What kind of ownership do they have? What kind of plan do they have? What kind of club do they have? Rob, you and I talked to the president of Sporting Cascades, a year and a half ago? It's been a while, right? A year ago that we talked about Sporting Cascades and the effort to get this team up. What town is this, Rob? What town is this?
Eugene, Oregon.
Eugene, Oregon, right? Not a town that immediately jumps off the map as like, we are going to get a professional soccer team there in this wave. But it's Eugene's not a small place. There's a university there, which obviously makes a difference in terms of like its cultural weight in the region. And the people behind this, Lane United was originally the idea, or originally the club there, a USL 2 club, I believe.
Yep. Yes, it was.
That did some nice things in the region.
Had a nice
badge. There were soccer people in Eugene, right? And we know the story of a Detroit City that comes out of NPSL, Chattanooga, who does the same. And we can imagine that it's possible that a club starts in a place that is not a major metropolitan area, can coalesce support and interest to get 3,500, 5,000 people out, right? And go and be a successful pro team. It has happened It's a difficult thing to do, but it has happened. And when we were trying to figure out what was going on in Eugene, we reached out to the club and said, we'd love to know some of your story. And we got hooked up with Dave Gallus, right? Dave Gallus is the guy who was running Lane United. He was the business side, and his brother was the soccer side. A couple of things have happened, and we'll tell you a little bit more about the ownership thing that we know in a minute. But one of the things that happened is that John Gallus passed away. Very, very sad situation. Very, very a tragedy, right? So that, I think, was a factor in some of what was going on with Sporting Cascades. We thought we were going to get a countdown to kickoff going with Sporting Cascades. To pull back the curtain here on Morning Kickaround. And if you're a Kickaround fan, if you're an ultra, we did Cosmos, we did Atletico Dallas, which we still need to catch up with Atletico Dallas. We did
Boise.
AC Boise. AC Boise was the best one, right? We went all the way from months and months and months ago up to their home game, their first ever home game in Boise. We wanted to do that. When the idea was first created to do Countdown to Kickoff, we reached out to Dave Gallus, who we had previously interviewed, and said, hey, we would love to do this with you. We stopped hearing from Dave Gallus. Now, this is not related to the eventual passing of his brother. This was about the fact, from what we understand, the ownership went MIA in Eugene, that they had somebody. He wasn't a local, I don't think, Rob, but he was sort of Northwest based. And that individual was committed to being the owner, then suddenly kind of disappeared on everybody. Payroll wasn't happening. We heard that the league had to step in to kind of keep things going, right? To make sure that this whole thing didn't collapse while they looked for new ownership. And now we know that new ownership is Bill Cornog. Do we know much about Bill? What do we know about Bill?
Bill's got a little bit of an interesting backstory, but he's a Eugene, Oregon native, which
local. We like that. We want locals involved because they have more buy-in, even if it's just more than their money. Rob, they have a civic connection to this club.
Yep, civic connection to the club, and he's described as an accomplished sports and business executive who joined the club as lead owner, adding significant global soccer and investment expertise to the organization. The part of the description in the press release that was quite interesting was that Cornog previously spent 20 years as a partner at an investment firm called KKR. Why does it sound familiar, Jason?
Oh, I think I've heard of KKR. What have I recently heard of KKR, Rob? Does it have something to do with the letters HSH and MLSNP? Is that perhaps the case?
Yeah, all those letters and acronyms. Yes. So KKR is the investment group that just threw their hat in with MLS Next Pro, but Cornog involved with them in a capacity for 20 years previous.
I would say more than likely, while that is an interesting thing, that's probably coincidental, right? He's a Eugene native. He's got some money. He wants to invest in third division soccer. Well, we actually don't know what division that will be when the USL pyramid gets all fleshed out. But he wants to be, I guess it would still be third division. He wants to own a team in his hometown. His relationship or his history with KKR just means he's got a private equity background, which, does dovetail with what's happening around soccer. Is that why he's buying Sporting Cascades, becoming the lead owner of Sporting Cascades? We don't know. Also remember, and I don't know this applies necessarily to Bill, but remember that the threshold for ownership of clubs has just dropped. The principal owner, the threshold has dropped from 35% to 15%, something we talked about a week and a half ago on the show.
Yeah, he's described here as the lean owner, but Mr. Cornog has quite the history. So in addition to the KKR connection, he was a senior vice president and general manager of network services, Williams Communications Group. So he definitely is in the executive tier. And they describe his experience across global soccer and executive leadership because he currently is on the board of directors at Blue Crow Sports Group, whose ownership portfolio includes international soccer clubs like Le Havre, which we know from Bob Bradley's background, CD Leganes in Spain's second division, and Cancun FC in Mexico's Liga de Expansión.
Oh, wow. Okay. So he's part of a group that's got interest in lower division soccer clubs across the globe. That is interesting. I don't know if I want to draw any grand conclusions from that, but that is interesting. And again, we are seeing people see lower division soccer in particular as an investment vehicle, which on one hand, good that they are putting money in where it's needed in a lot of cases, certainly in Eugene with Sporting Cascades, needed in order to get this team off the ground. The other side of that coin, without knowing Bill himself, is investments are about taking money out, right? Eventually getting profit, eventually having that investment grow. So, hopefully all of these things are happening in a direction that serves not just that element, but the fans, the supporters, the leagues, the structures here in America, because we got to keep clubs going. We don't want to see them die.
And we know there was some concern that this thing was going to, get off the ground because obviously the previous owner went MIA. The league had to step in and kind of keep things going. And Papadakis was Justin Papadakis was one of the folks that was a big cheerleader to get a team here. It was really important to get in that north and west side of USL 1 populated. So it was an important market for the league. And then so when Justin Papadakis was removed from it, that added another layer of concern out there. But getting a local, well-heeled executive involved seems like it's a great progression, at least for the launch of this team. And I imagine lots of calls were made, like who's connected to soccer, who has the money to qualify to ownership. And it looks like they've kind of gotten the crosshairs of all those needs and expectations. And hopefully this assists and facilitates that 2027 launch that they're touting here in the press release.
Yeah. I mean, look, I recall liking Dave Gallis a lot, right? I always come to these things relatively critical and relatively not cynical, that's not the word, but just I want to see it proven that the people on the ground know what they're doing. I mean, I remember one thing about Sporting Cascades is that their stadium plan was affected by a fire, right? They had a fire in the stadium that they were hoping to occupy. And
some kids set fire to it.
Kids set fire to the historic stadium there in Eugene, but they are revitalizing Civic Park Stadium there in Eugene, Oregon for this team. And one of the things I've said recently is that if you can at all take an existing venue, revitalize it, figure out a way to make it work for the soccer team, but also for the community at large, that's the ideal, right? That's what we should be trying to do. Is it nice when a team owns their own stadium and is in complete control, and that means that their revenue base is strong because of that? Sure. But sometimes it's like, well, yeah, but if you took something else that was already there and benefits everybody, then, I think that could be that could be something that everybody can get on board with in the community, even if you're not a soccer fan. I'm actually looking at the website here. Civic Park is Eugene's home for community sports and recreation, and I think they've got a plan to add the stands on one side, where right now there's a field house on one side of the complex, and I don't know how many stands are on that side, but from what I can tell via this rendering, it's not a rendering, it's just a picture, they're going to add some seating, and that seating will obviously be what's necessary in the future for Sporting Cascades. In terms of what the attendance numbers will be and things like that, that's to be determined.
And we shall follow this story and see if we can get some more firsthand accounts on how this club is progressing to, hopefully, in a launch in USL 1 in 2027. Before we dig into our Rhode Island on location debrief, be sure to give a thumbs up to this video. Hit subscribe button. We are on our march to 7,000 subscribers. I mean, we're well past. We're on our way to 9,000 subscribers. We didn't lose any. We're past 8,500, going towards 9,000 subscribers. Whoosh. it's been a long weekend, and we are well into the 200s as far as MK Ultras. If you haven't already, become an MK Ultra. Just a few bucks a month gets you priority commenting on screen during these live streams. You get bonus content and the morning kick around Discord server, which is a wonderful place of sharing and conversation on multiple levels, from kits to leagues to games to pro rel conversations and folks starting clubs and people. I've been loving everyone sharing their images of them receiving their morning kick around kit. And the second run, we got to set a hard date the next week or so. We'll announce that here shortly when the hard date is for the second run of the morning kick around kit. You can get that on the morning kick around store on the Fourth Wall website, and we'll be sure to put that link in the chat. There it is, right there on screen. Morning kick around shop fourthwall.com. That's where you can get on the second run.
We're going to buy a URL. We're going to have to buy a URL. I think that's next. Support the show so we can buy a URL that's shorter than all of that nonsense.
Yeah, for sure. No doubt. But stick with us here on Morning Kick Around. We're going to break down and debrief and talk through our wonderful trip to Rhode Island. Stay with us. Here we are, the morning after. We were on location for our second ever soccer match day, live on location. This time, of course, we went to Pawtucket, Rhode Island. My first trip to the Northeast, my first experience of New England. Blackstone Valley Tourism Council took care of us better than we could have ever expected. There is the scarf amongst the many gift bags. The generosity we received. We got given gifts by the Tourism Council, the club, the supporters, all.
Your friend Jason was a little worried that his checked bag was going to be overweight, and I was going to have to pay an extra $50 to get everything back home. But they took it. It was like 54 pounds. They're like, whatever, it's fine. So I got it in, and I got most of my stuff here. We did have to leave some things behind, which very sad for me, Rob. But we got most of it home.
We had to leave some beers behind. I had to leave my coffee milk behind. They wouldn't let me bring that on board. Did they give you any grief about your open whiskey bottle?
No, it was in my bag. It was in my checked bag. I checked the bag. You did not. Of course, I didn't give me any grief. It was a liquid in the checked bag, which you're allowed to do. You didn't have a checked bag, which is why you couldn't bring your coffee milk, and you didn't have whiskey, so you didn't bring that back.
But yeah, actually, I got lucky. They put my carry-on as a check bag for free at the gate, so I didn't have to lug that around and try to stuff that in because that was not fitting in the.
You couldn't put the liquids in there because you didn't know that was going to happen. So yeah, there you go.
I'll have to make my own coffee milk, but that's an experience for the Northeast that we didn't get to.
And our guy from Defiance 1636, Matt Jean, is telling us he can get whatever we want to. See, stop being so generous, Rhode Island. Good Lord, we got. My family is going to be like, why do we have all this new stuff in the house taking up all the space? No, we'll talk about it.
Yeah. Our cups of soccer run fulleth, I think is a fair way to say.
Absolutely. Yeah. I should have brought all this stuff to show off on the show today. I just didn't prepare. I was rushing around. I got the beers are upstairs in the fridge. Those are from the Guild. By the way, one of our stops, thanks to Blackstone Valley for taking us to the Guild. The Guild is a partner of Rhode Island FC. Big space. They've got a brewery there. They've got a beer garden there. We were in the inside area. That's where apparently they watched the away matches when Defiance gathers for that the people who don't travel for those games. So we got the beer, again, scarves, jerseys,
a lot of stickers,
a bandana, stickers everywhere.
Hologram stickers from Defiance with the pyro guy on it was a huge hit. My kid snatched that immediately.
Yeah, Rob, Tim is saying, shout out to Tim. Tim got his jersey down there, hung out with Tim a bit. We can ship you your coffee milk. So Tim is actually the reasons that Rob, okay, all right. Can we tell a story? We got a couple stories. These are good stories, I promise you. One of the stories is that Blackstone Valley Tourism Council had a whole itinerary for us to tour the region and do all kinds of stuff so we could get a sense of not just the general history, like the American history, which is very deep there. There's the itinerary. Rob's holding it up. But also the soccer history of Blackstone Valley. And there's quite a bit of that. And we'll tell you about some of that. But one of the things that happened is that because I do the radio show in the afternoon and I'm able to do that anywhere, and I don't get paid if I don't do the show. I took my radio box and they set me up in the Blackstone Valley Tourism Council offices, and I did my show on Thursday and Friday. That meant I was missing for 3 hours while Rob got to do all the good stuff. Apparently, like he got to go eat the great Portuguese food, and I did not. That did not happen, Rob. I didn't get it.
Yeah, that's one of the things we don't have in Michigan. We definitely don't have Portuguese food, and not to that level. We were served by the grandson of the owner, and I got to have a steak with sauce. And I think it was interesting. It was very English almost, with the meat and two different starches. You had the rice and French fries, and that was some delicious food. Unreal. Oh, Danish was quite the stop, and I got to see like a sculpture, a wooden sculpture on the shores of the river. It was a literal troll made out of wood, which I didn't expect. They didn't tell me what we were going to see. It was just on the itinerary listed as Mrs. Skipper Thomas Dambo Troll. And I'm like, and this is in between like soccer history stops. So I'm like, what is this? And so we walk down to the water, kind of off the beaten trail. There's this huge wooden troll with a big boat hiding in a big boat. It was quite a sight.
So I was telling the story about you going to the Portuguese restaurant because later that evening, this is Friday, Rob went and had Portuguese food while I was starving on the radio. We get done, we meet up, we go to the German Social Club, and I see that there's Dave is in the chat. Shout out to Dave. Pleasure hanging out with you guys at the German Club. So we went to this German Social Club. It was a Ratskeller. It was a basement. It was a basement of the social club. They've got a bar there. They serve German food. I had bratwurst. I had
party pizza.
Well, I'm getting to that. Hold on, Rob, jumping ahead. I had the bratwurst. I had what's the
kraut?
I had sauerkraut. And then Tim, I mentioned Tim was there, and he brought party pizza, which, despite having spent some time in New England, unlike Rob, I was unaware of party pizza. I'd never been to Rhode Island. I'd been to Massachusetts and some of the other states. Party pizza was a new one on me. And I'm sure one of the Rhode Island guys will give us a better description. But essentially, it's like almost like an Italian-ish bread, I guess, with like with a pizza sauce on top of it. But I know they cook it a certain way, but there's like a pizza sauce on top. This is served cold. So Tim brings out this box, like almost like a box of donuts, and opens it up, and it's just stacked with these strips that are the bread and the tomato sauce. And he's like, yo, you're in Rhode Island, you got to try party pizza. And I'm like, all right, let me go in. I hadn't eaten, remember, because I was on the radio for 3 hours. And Rob, I can't possibly. I had too much wonderful Portuguese food today. I am unable to try your party pizza.
I was so full, and I'm a big eater, and I never decline food, and I was so full that I couldn't do it. And I tried to be modest about it, but one of the youngins from the tourism council was like, "That was so good." I was trying to be modest because I knew you were going to be hungrier than hell, but I tried to like not talk about it too much, but it kept coming up.
Anyway, we had a great time at the German. We had a great time doing a lot of things. German Social Club was very cool. Met.
It was essentially like a beer garden, but in the basement.
Yeah, well, it was a basement, and there were tables, and we drank beer, and we talked to the Defiance leadership, and we saw the Council of Mats. There's a lot of Mats in Rhode Island who are involved in various aspects of the club on the fan side, and that was very cool. We again the soccer history of the region. So there are a couple of spots around the Blackstone Valley that they took us to that are sites of very important American soccer history. And Kate is asking about the Rhode Island New England Oceaneers. There is one of the things the Blackstone Valley has done is kind of go back in the history of the region and pulled out descriptions of jerseys and things like that, or shirts, what the clubs would wear. One of the clubs is called the Rangers, and they because of the before color photography, and not those pictures not really existing, they had to like figure out where a reference was to the color that this club would wear so that they could make a replica jersey, a modern take on the jersey to display in this this soccer history what are they doing? They're doing it at the museum in Woonsocket coming up
Yeah.
this summer.
How Immigrants Became Icons, the history of soccer in Rhode Island, opening June 18th in Woonsocket, Rhode Island.
Yeah, at the Museum of Work.
Museum of Work and Culture.
Work and Culture. All right, thank you very much. So they're doing stuff like that, Kate, which is cool. And again, they took us to parking lots essentially and said on this site in 1913, true story, there was the first ever U.S. Open Cup final. It was the National Challenge Cup, I think, still at the time. But essentially, the history of the U.S. Open Cup begins on this site. The J&P Coates, I don't know. It's like
we saw three different ones. You missed one of them. So the one place that was actually the parking lot, that was the site of where the Rangers were, and there was the very, very old games played there. And then while you were working, we visited Pierce Stadium, which is the site of the Rhode Island Oceaneers and Stingrays.
Oh, okay.
And that was the nicest grass. Whoever the groundskeeper is, give him a raise there. That was the nicest grass I've ever seen. An interesting connection. It was also a public works project in the 30s, very, along the same lines, parallel to Detroit City FC's home of Keyworth Stadium. And it was very much of that same design, but it didn't crumble quite as much as Keyworth Stadium. And that was quite the experience. We got to walk out there and kind of soak it in, and kind of had the badge of the public works. And that was quite the experience in hallowed ground. And then the other historic place we saw was the J&P Coates place, where Jason and I actually got to have our own morning kick around. We played in a replica old fashioned ball, had a kick around on the site of the first Open Cup final site.
Yeah, that was cool. There's a little bit of that video mixed in with what the Blackstone Valley has put out on their channels. And by the way, if you want to support Morning Kick Around, one way to help us grow and get more opportunities for us, like what we got to do in Pawtucket and Blackstone Valley and Rhode Island, is to like and spread what Blackstone Valley puts out, because what they're obviously trying to do is get people to visit the Blackstone Valley. They're doing that through food and through various other cultures, but they're also doing it through soccer. They're making an effort around the World Cup to say, hey, look, we are a hotbed of not just current soccer passion. Rhode Island FC is an expression of that. We also have some very deep history. Our history is as deep as it gets in American soccer. There's not you can talk about Kearney, New Jersey. Patterson has some really deep history in New Jersey. There are other places, Fall River, which, by the way, is part of the Blackstone Valley. It's just in Massachusetts. And one thing we learned, some of you may have heard of the Fall River teams. There was the Marksman FC. They used a couple different names. But because Fall River was another industrial town that had very good soccer happening in it. And one thing we learned is that Fall River, they were based, the factory where all the workers lived was based in Massachusetts, but because of Massachusetts blue laws and about selling alcohol, they actually built their stadium and played on the Rhode Island side of the border, which I think is really interesting. One thing we also learned, Rob, this is a good story.
Yeah.
We, through James over at Blackstone Valley, we went to a house in Pawtucket where the first African-American players of note in top-level soccer in America lived. This was the Watson brothers.
You got it.
And they lived in Pawtucket, and they played for a couple of teams. I think it was the Free Wanderers. They played for a couple of teams in Pawtucket, as James was telling us. So James drives us up to this house, and Rob and I are like, we're kind of like, oh, what's going on here? Like with the troll. Rob didn't know what was going to happen. We're going to pull up to a house. Oh, there's a house. Okay, right. And so James starts telling us about the house and about the Watson brothers. And, obviously in American sports, we mark people like Jackie Robinson for breaking the color barrier in baseball, which, there wasn't one. And then people like Cap Anson didn't want to play with black players, so they established one. And, it took another, 50 plus years before there was another black player. There was a color barrier in American football that had to be broken and things like that. Anyway, the Watson brothers were obviously, they played soccer, and we didn't have a professional league that kind of sprung out of that and lasted as long as we wanted. There were some ASL teams in the region and things like that. But the Watson brothers, they deserve to be recognized, right, for their contribution to American soccer history.
Yeah,
So we
because
pull
you
up to
just
the
drive
house.
by it, just a house in amongst a
Just
neighborhood.
now, just somebody living there. It's a house occupied in a neighborhood. So we pull up and we start walking around the house, just on this street, standard little neighborhood. And Rob and I are just kind of like talking, and James is over there, and they're talking about, oh, we'd love to get a plaque on this street or rename this section, not officially, but sort of unofficially for the tourism
Honorary
element,
name.
honorary name, Watson Street or something like that. And I tell Rob, like, we're just standing in front of these people's house. They
And
probably
we're
don't like.
filming too. We
Yeah,
filmed a little bit
there
too.
was some filming. The guy from Blackstone Valley, Brian, who was filming, was on the other side of the street just getting a shot. And what do people have in 2026 on the front of their houses now, Rob? What do they got?
They have
What do they
ring cameras.
They got cameras. They got ring cameras. And so Rob and I are like, we're finally starting to like walk back around to the car, which is parked this house on a corner. And we start walking around, and I hear, "What are you doing standing in front of my house?" from the ring camera. And I was like, uh-oh, we got to go. We're going to get in trouble. They're going to call the cops on us or something. And so as we're walking around, and I have to tell you, James, who brought us out, Blackstone Valley executive director, great guy, very, very low key guy. Like, he's not, he knows his stuff, and he's very passionate about the Blackstone Valley, but he's not a big, boisterous, loud person. Like, he's not quiet. I don't know if that's the right word.
A composed and measured person?
Sure, exactly. Very thoughtful, so we're walking around the house, and a guy comes out of the back door, right? Guy comes out of the back door, and this is Rhode Island, and some of you, certainly our Rhode Island fans in the chat will know, and anybody who's been to the Northeast will know. The guy comes out of the house, like, "Can I help you?" Like that. "Can I help you?"
Jason and I look at each other like, oh boy.
And he starts, like, big dude too, like ambling towards the fence. And James is, again, so measured, so composed. And he's like, "Yeah, hi. We're from the Blackstone Valley Tourism Council, and we're here because this is the historic home of a pair of gentlemen, African-American gentlemen, who played for the local soccer teams." And the guy, "Oh yeah, you sent me a letter about that. I got that letter." And then goes into a whole thing about how he just hasn't had time. Yeah, he's got no problem. You can put up a plaque. That would be very nice. Tells us,
Tell me more.
That was it. He's like, so James is like, "Yeah, there were a couple of gentlemen. They're African American. They played." And so, "Tell me more about that."
That was so handled brilliantly. And I mean, because for good reason, because we had a legitimate reason to be there. We weren't being creepos or anything. So James really explained it well. But when he had the opening line of "Tell me more about that," that was like, all right, I understand New Englanders a little bit more.
It was such a great experience, I think, for Rob, because he got the full on what a New Englander can be like, which is loud and potentially intimidating initially, but absolutely friendly as hell. This guy, absolutely friendly as hell. He was just so big with it that it was like, oh, but he was like, yeah, it was totally cool. Apparently, hopefully they get the ball rolling on doing what James was talking to him about. And he was like totally cool with it. He was like, "I got to get out to a game for Rhode Island FC. I haven't been." He talked about the Paw Sox, which is a story.
We learned that was the baseball team that was there for a long time was a big part. We heard that story from multiple people throughout that weekend.
Yeah, well, and I think what I took away from that, right? And I'm being a baseball guy and having been connected to minor league baseball and understand what that can mean for a community. The thing I took away from there, so many people mentioning the Paw Sox and the demise of the Paw Sox, the departure of the Paw Sox, the destruction of the tearing down of the stadium where they had played, was that this is a place that's perfect for a soccer team because Rhode Island FC is coming in and filling that void, right? Yeah. And maybe it's about soccer and the specialness of soccer and sort of how soccer is supported by the Defiance 1636, like by groups like that, where support in soccer is of a different kind than you go out to the baseball game and you cheer and you say, "Charge" and all that stuff, but it's not organized. We're not doing pyro and smoke and waving flags during a baseball game. This is a next level of engagement for some people. And obviously, if you're not in the supporters group, you don't do that stuff, but you partake in the atmosphere of it, right? You get that element added into, hey, is the team winning? Are we scoring goals? Are we having fun? But I got from people like that homeowner at the home of the Watson brothers is there are people who will be willing to come to soccer despite not being soccer people and being older, right? Having never really engaged with it, but being in their 40s, 50s, 60s that are like, yeah, this is amazing. This is representing me and my town. Like I can feel connected to this because it says Rhode Island on that badge, and I am a Rhode Islander.
Yeah, it was incredible. And we even met the Pools who had that exact story. They were regulars at the baseball games, and even the homeowner of the Watson House said the same exact thing. It was right down the street from, was it McCoy Stadium?
I believe
what
so.
it was
Yeah,
called.
I believe so.
And yeah, we heard from multiple angles from not only the Rhode Island FC people, but from people in the neighborhood, and then some of the fans that they are filling the void of when minor league baseball left town. They were able to step in there. And I guess this is a good time to talk about the game itself and Centerville Bank Stadium, because it's right there in the neighborhood between a very heavily populated area and right there on the river. So it is kind of that, if you're going to parallel it to the European experience, you can walk down the street and walk into the stadium. It was pretty incredible that way.
Yeah, Rob and I stayed 2 blocks away from the stadium in an Airbnb, which ended up not being, I mean, it was convenient, but we actually, because of the rain, we ended up going in the car.
Yeah, so we had great weather the whole time we're there, except for match day.
Saturday.
And the approach to the stadium, all of our stuff would have gotten just soaked wet. So we had to hop in the car for a 2-street journey. I was hoping to do our own little walk to the game, but it was raining dogs and cats, as they say.
And look, at the risk of being a little bit over the top, and I worried about this a little bit while we were up there. I got a first look when James kind of walked me around it on Thursday when I arrived. Rob didn't see it until Saturday.
Well, we drove by here and there, but we didn't actually visit the stadium until
you didn't really get a sense of it. You saw a sign, you saw some floodlights, you saw the back of the stands. That's what you saw. You didn't really see it until Saturday. And neither of us saw the inside of it until Saturday. And it was raining, and it was by no means full. And I'm sure on a match day where it is sunny and there are 10,000 people or 8,500 people, and it's amazing. But even without those elements, I was blown away. Rob, I was blown away. And because of the context of it more than anything, right? I've been to Mercedes-Benz Stadium, which some people might call the best stadium on the planet, right? I've been to buildings that house soccer that are incredibly impressive, right? That are modern, that have all of the amenities, that are top of the line in every single way. But what I've not seen yet, and I know there's one in Louisville, and I know there are others that will be coming online hopefully in the near future, but what I had not seen yet was a stadium built for a lower division soccer team, right, for their community at the right size, the appropriate size community that was like that, which was basically a reduced version of a top-class soccer stadium. And again, built for soccer. Now, they have other stuff. Bill Burr's coming, right? They're going to do lacrosse there. There's other things that are happening in that stadium, concerts and stuff. They're going to try to maximize the stadium for that reason. And there were some things about the funding that we were talking about. They had a target goal in terms of spend, and then it got bumped up dramatically with COVID and everything else. And then, they had to make some changes in terms of capacity, and and we're going to show you what their plan is in terms of capacity here in a moment. But I was blown away, Rob. Absolutely blown away.
Yeah, they have really something special there. And it's unique that for a brand new stadium to be in a neighborhood is unique in its own right. Like most new buildings, where's the land? It's in underdeveloped or less developed areas, which usually means outside of city and population areas. But it is in probably the most densely populated area that we visited.
Yeah, that's the thing. There are some other projects and things going on that haven't happened yet. And I imagine when that does, it'll look even more impressive. There is a question here from Chris about covering the stands, about roof. Now, the reason and look, that's a significant expense, right? We're talking about millions and millions and millions of dollars to cover the stands when you do this. They may have a plan for covering the stands, but before they do that, they would like to expand the stadium. And this is a team that very much is targeting the 15,000 seats threshold because why, Rob?
Because ProRel and USL Premier is going to launch in the next few years, and there is a PLS 15,000 capacity requirement to do such a thing. And we see Tim in the comments here explaining it well, and there's great symbolism. So if you watch the live show, you'll see that there was a beam right behind us in the background. And that was fantastic symbolism, because that's basically the base piece for a second level to go on the ends to raise that capacity.
Well, Rob, because we pre-planned this, that we have a little video with a portion of our interview with Paul Byrne, who is the Centerville Bank Stadium general manager, about that. So why don't we listen to Paul explain what the plan is?
And some of our viewers are talking about where this league is, USL Championship. Obviously, USL has made some big announcements the past year. Rob and I have covered those pretty in depth. Some of them involve the standards that U.S. Soccer requires for different leagues. Centerville Bank Stadium is a gem for the size it is. Can it get bigger? Can there be more? What does it look like in the future?
Yeah, the stadium has been built to expand. So just behind us, there's actually right over my head, there's a steel beam that goes right across this south end as well as north end. So this steel beam will be is built to hold 2,500 seats on this end as well as the other. So that'll be our 5,000. That'll get us to 15,000. Also over my shoulder on our east side, we're built to expand on that side as well. So yes, this stadium is ready.
And
ready to be a part
from day one, that was part of the plan, from the original design.
That was day one. Credit to our ownership group, Brett Johnson and Dan Krober, who really deserve all the credit for this stadium and the way that it's been built and designed.
All right, so there you go. Paul Byrne, the general manager of Centerville Bank Stadium, describing what they plan.
Yeah, and after the live show, which was a blast in general, and we're going to piece that together. We had a little bit of internet glitches. The rain or something made the video slow down, but the audio stayed clean throughout, thankfully. But once we finished the show right at kickoff and packed up and everything, Paul, very generous with his time, toured us around the stadium, and we got to see the VIP entrance. We got to go see all the press room, and we even got to see the player areas, the locker room, the workout room, all that stuff. Super incredibly cool. And I can only imagine having the only other USL locker room I've seen is Detroit City FC. And I'd say those are two different worlds.
Yeah, that's it. And obviously Detroit City has a plan, right? And they're going to build a stadium, and it's going to be like that in the end. I'm sure they're going to go for that level, right? And like if you didn't have a grander context to the USL Championship or USL or sort of what has just happened recently around that league, you may, if you got a tour of that locker, you may be like, oh, look at these USL Championship players. It's so nice. Everything is top class. They've got a great locker room. They've got a great weight room. They've got all the amenities. The parking lot for the players. Boom, entry. Everything is everything looks great. That is not the way that it is for everybody else in the USL Championship. Yeah, but it has to be the goal, right? It has to be the target. Now, how you get there for all these other independent clubs, I don't know that part, right? That requires, again, money. That's why maybe some of the investment that is coming into the USL via private equity is ultimately kind of a good thing. I mean, that equity is with the league, and I don't know how it's going to filter down to the teams, but that's the standard we want. I understand it costs a lot, and not everybody is as resourced as the Rhode Island FC ownership or as ambitious in the way that they have been.
Yeah, that's a good point. Incredible ambition to want to do this and bring this to the community. And as a media and a commentator, and just like a stadium nerd in general, the press box there was probably one of the nicest ones. Not like obviously the biggest in the world, but so nice. So nice. Any media person would be honored to work in there. It was so quiet. The windows were big. Like there's brand new stadiums with like window slats, right? Like obscured views and stuff like that. But we only have a couple minutes left. So I want to get to our last piece. We talk about kits, and we talked about the morning Kickaround kit and how much we love the badges and stuff and the embroidery. And amongst the generosities shown to us was we were given kits. And their badge this year, blue, a little bit of controversy, not the amber.
You complain so much. You're like, I don't like it. It's not the yellow one.
I like it. I just thought it was different. I mean, they're in their third year, and there's an alt badge. But yes, Jason, jumping the gun. They even they personalized it for us.
They did. Luckily, our names are not, Kazakowski or something. It's just Davis and Kerr. It's very simple. I have a lot of problem throwing on 5 and 4 letters, which was good for us.
I was maybe second guessing. Maybe I should have got Robinho on there and put a little bit of a little bit of flair.
No, I'm sorry. That's too much. I don't. I mean, I want to be a live and let live person, but I don't know, Rob. I would have been raising some eyebrows if you put Robinho on the back of your shirt. I would have been.
Yeah, sometimes I'm a confidence player, my own playing, and sometimes you get in a streak where you're on fire, and I turn into Robinho from time to time. But yeah, Kerr, the number 10, couldn't thank the club and Blackstone Valley Tourism Council enough and Defiance 1636 for their generosity and their hospitality. It really was an outstanding experience.
Yeah, I also would like to recognize the people making stuff to support the team and do, make this a fully fleshed out club. And as you know, as everybody knows, soccer media in this country is not nearly where we want it to be, which requires people to step into the fray, either as an amateur or as in a pro-am capacity to fill that void. And we met Matt from Tide Talk. He writes their previews. We met Tyler from Tide Talk. I'm not sure if we ran into anybody else from Tide Talk, one of the podcasts and the websites that covered the team. We also met the guys from Raising Anchor. That's a different Matt and Jason. That was quite an evening after the game. They were enjoying themselves. But I wanted to recognize both. Go support Raising Anchor. Go support Tide Talk. Go support the outlets that are doing the work to cover these teams and give the fans what they need to make this a full experience as a supporter, as a fan.
Yeah, couldn't agree more. Thank you to all involved. Thank you to everyone for showing such hospitality and sharing stories and just generosity in general. And really enjoyed the region, enjoyed the history, and the game was amazing itself. And thankfully, we didn't leave another on location with a home team loss. Thankfully, we saw JJ Williams equalizer. We got to hear Psycho Killer, and we got to see Defiance pop their smoke and celebrate at least getting a point there at the death against the table-topping Tampa Bay Rowdies.
If you do not know, we're being pretty active on Instagram these days with Morning Kickaround. So Kickaround on Instagram, little videos, stuff that we've done, that kind of Instagram-friendly content. That is something that we worked on while we were there. We'll probably be still posting more Rhode Island stuff because I think there's going to be more stuff that we haven't yet shared. And we'll be posting things up on that account as we move forward. The stuff from the show, shorts, things that we get that will be intriguing to soccer fans. Help us spread the word, like all that stuff, comment, because I think that's how the algorithm knows that people like you.
Yep, we're going to be active there on the social media, especially the Instagram, and we're going to try to get that full interview with Paul Byrne, the stadium manager. But crazy week for both, or a little bit of a different change of schedule for Jason and myself. So I'm not sure what our live schedule is going to be the rest of the week. I have a whole lot to do now that I'm back in town for Oakland County FC's opening day on Saturday. I got to have a intern orientation, and there's all sorts of like pre-parties and a lot of stuff going on there. So TBD on live shows, but we'll remain to be active, posting stuff from Rhode Island and some Instagram stuff. So stick with us. Get into the Discord if you're a member and you haven't done so already. You got any final words?
No, I think that's good for us today. We did a good one today.
All right. Until next time, everybody, be brave, stay safe, and enjoy your soccer.